Hello students. The writing skill that we are going to discuss, and in our actual classes we have already gone through the preliminary theories of the trade letters. Trade letters, as we see, is a part of writing skills, but this writing skill is very important in the business communication. We of course needs to think about the oral communication and written communication. So solely it is applicable to the written type of communication. So in the discussion that we have seen, the first type of letter in trade letters is inquiry letter. We have seen inquiry. It's an inquiry about goods and services. In nutshell, when we have actually conducted our lecture, we have discussed about how these inquiries and the nature of inquiries, or in what way the inquiries are to be made. So it's a definition that we have to see. An inquiry in commercial correspondence means a request by a buyer to a seller seeking information or favor about. So there are few terms that we see. Commercial correspondence means it's a commercial type of correspondence. At the same time that the buyer is needful about the products and services, and the seller has his market objectives and his say agenda and nature of the work, that is what he is selling about. So we have to think from these three perspectives. So what about the inquiry is to be made? The inquiry can be made in case of the quality of the goods, means what type of quality that the buyer is to get. Then we have the price list, or we can ask for the price list. The details of the quality and quantity of the goods that is required for the buyer can be inquired after. But if the information about the quality of the goods and services that is available, or printed material that is available, the buyer can get the information from. The literature serves as a source of information and knowledge about the product. So we can ask for the price list, we can ask for catalog, we can ask for uh, specimens or some literature, or in case of some say brochures, so we can ask for the price list and catalog. At the same time, the inquiry can be made in case of availability of goods and whatever services that are there. So the services, maintenance, insurance are the services that we have to inquire after. Then if there are any seller's conditions, and these conditions or terms are to be inquired after, what are these conditions, what are these terms that we need to ask for? At the same time, the instructions on the use of a product and services. So from the seller we can get what type of say instructions that are required to be taken care of when using these products and services. There are certain estimates, certain discounts, certain schemes. So we can ask for the schemes, we can ask for the cost quotations, and this is also one of the area that we can ask for. There are any terms or conditions of the service provider or any other problems in required in regarding of the work or in regarding of the order that can be asked for in case of terms and conditions. Then what is the purpose of this inquiry, or why this letter is written? To find a competitive problems, means if there are any problems that we can ask for, so this inquiry letter is written to find out competitive services. Of course, if we write such a inquiry letter to more than one seller, so we can get the comparative services, who is offering us more services and who is offering less. Comparative process, maintenance and other transportation services or insurance services, who is providing at the minimum cost or who is providing free of cost. What is the, as per business statics, strategy or statistics, who is the best seller to us, who is maintaining our relations, so we can ask for, and that is what to find a purchasing decision. We need to find competitive services. So for that purpose inquiries are made. At the same time, to find out competitive choices, and so is providing better option, who is better than other. So such an inquiry letter is written to many persons, many sellers. There are at the same time two types of inquiries letter. When a buyer makes inquiries in response to a newspaper advertisement or television or with a clear objective of purchasing goods and services, he is said to making a solicited inquiry. And when buyer is inquiring to the seller about the goods and services on the buyer's own initiative, it is unsolicited letters. The buyer doesn't get any kind of information from other sources but writing on his own. So such a letter is unsolicited letters. So unsolicited inquiry can be made. So when we have such a inquiry, there is another type of inquiry that we can say is estimate inquiries or quotations. These quotations are called by the buyer when he decides to place an order for goods or to give a contract for the services to a party. A quotation is a statement of terms for carrying out the specific order. The buyer of goods and um, quality, color, quantity, size, mode of transport, all this can be taken into account. So like this we have the types of say on purposes or types of inquiries. Then we have to understand the business terms. See, there are few business correspondence related terms that is often used in a short form. At a station, this prices which includes parking charges, transport charges up to station. So the meaning of this abbreviation that we can use: X factory, X godown, X warehouse, buyer to be charged up to buyer's destination. So like this the meaning is to be interpreted. Transport related abbreviations that are used: CF means carriage forward. The prices does not include transport charges. The buyer will have to pay the transport charges, means carriage forward. CP stands for the seller takes the responsibility of the delivery, and same time the charges are paid by the seller. Unloading charges will be borne by the buyer. So it is by CP. FOR for free on rail. Rail charges paid by seller. It stands for this. The another abbreviation that is used is cost insurance. Quotation received from the seller includes the cost of the price, insurance charges, freight charges to be paid by the seller. So CRF stands for this. A payment related some abbreviations that we need to think about is cash on delivery, COD. The seller demands payment for goods delivered at the time of delivery. Credit note: when the seller has overcharged the buyer, he gives a credit note for the amount overcharged. So buyer can ask for a refund in cash like this. CDN means debit note. Debit note if goods damaged in the transit. When the buyer finds the seller has overcharged him, he can ask for claiming a reduction. So debit note has to be understood. Or types of discount, we have trade discount. If the discount is offered by the seller on the printed price list when the buyer places a bulk order, it is called as trade discount. Cash discount stands for the discount offered by a seller to make the cash payment. So like this, we have certain abbreviations and their subsequent meaning that we just discussed needs to be understood and to be followed while drafting such inquiry letter. Then, by understanding the basic qualities of the inquiry letter or the nature that we have discussed in our classroom also, that each and every point will make a single sentence, and if we use tactfully this single sentence in a very good use of language, then we can ask for the inquiry letter in a very influential way. Then when the letter goes to the other end, there is a reply. So reply to inquiry letter and how it is written, this is also one of the way by which we have to understand the trade letters. The next and immediate consent to whom the inquiry is being made means the seller. The seller must see this as inquiry as an opportunity. This inquiry with us is an opportunity to sell the product, to earn the money, and that is what this is also required, a salesmanship. So immediately this inquiry is to be solicited, means immediate response needs to be given to the inquirer. So the first point is to be observed is to promptly reply the inquiry letter. See, at the same time, the first line of the body of the letter should begin with the thanks, extending your compliments for the inquiry made with him. Because if you thank him, there will be the good manners of writing letters and using of language. So thanks for the interest shown. Describe nature of goods. Care to be taken. See, what is the inquiry being made? The answers to this question to be described, or what are the nature, or what are the things, means what are the options also that needs to be informed to the inquirer. So at the same time, if there is any literature that is available about the product and services, should be handed over, should be mailed, should be posted to the inquirer. It may include catalogs, it may include price list, it may include some specimens, and this should go to the inquirer. So price list and other literature needs to be sent. At the same time, there should be a covering letter to justify the process if there is any change in a scheme. So these schemes needs to be informed to the inquirer. So with regard to this, a covering letter should be drafted. So this is also one of the way in which we have to think about. Then availability of the stocks. What quantity is available with us? What quantities are up to the inquiry? What standard does it have? So we have to think from this perspective. Terms, transport facilities needs to be considered. Services should be mentioned in the covering letter, and at the same time the place of delivery where it is valid So like this, if there is any offer, any scheme, any sales scheme, any celebration of any occasion is to be informed to the inquiry maker. So to which date the offer is valid for, it should be mentioned there. Then this, we have to think this is a sportsmanship, and at the same time we have to keep our contact intact. The relation should build up, just not this first order, but there should be repeated orders from the buyer. So there should be continue sell, there should be continued salesmanship relations and business. So from this perspective we have to think after sales services also. So what is the service that you are going to provide, if there are any? At the same time, we have to show the courtesy and friendly manners while developing our business relations. At the same time, we have to assure the buyer about the transparency in case of goods and products, in case of billing, in case of transportation, and in case of delivery, or after that maintenance or other types of services. So there should be transparency, and we have to assure the buyer like this. If this letter comes to the inquiry maker, he will draft a buyer. Buyer will draft a order letter. So what is this order? Order in general sense, as we know, as per our general knowledge, means we have as a buyer we have received so many responses from various sources, from various sellers, wholesalers, and we have achieved, we have come to a certain so-called decision that we are going to purchase this order from this seller. So if you have made the purchase decision, then you can go for the order letter and placing of an order. So order, what does it mean by order letter? That we need to think about. So this later we will study in our next lecture. Thank you.